Alright. Hello everyone, my name is Andreas Diaz. Me and Will are back again for another spectacular Marvel Plus talk. Of course, Will, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. I'm very I'm very excited to discuss our discussion topic for this week. Of course, we're going to discuss our ranking of probably the worst MCU properties, right? Both
Hmm.
TV and movies, right? That's
Right.
Yeah, and so we discussed the rules and how we placed them in our ranking as we discussed it towards the end of our Avengers podcast. So I'm very excited for it. I already placed it. It's just 10-6 is where I was like, where should I put it? Because you know, I don't hate these, but they're not the best. So
Hmm.
yeah. So how about you? Was this listing easy compared to like the best list we have done so far?
Um, I mean, I certainly knew like what the top three were gonna be right away,
Yes, I
which was harder with the like my favorite ones.
Mm, yeah. I you give me a huge hint of who is probably be number one, which I totally get,
Maybe.
and
Yeah. It's
yeah,
you might be.
yeah.
I don't know if surprised is the right word, but
No, no. I mean, if our
it's
listeners, you know you, like you've been bringing that up, so that's good. So, okay, so let's kind of get into it. So I have 16 listed, and how many you have listed?
I have 10.
Okay, 10. All right, so I got 10 as well, and I think I'm comfortable like listing them. So, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So for my like 10th least favorite, I did Agent Carter.
Really?
Yeah. I like
Wow.
season one. I like
Okay.
season one. Um, But when I was thinking about TV shows, I was trying to think of them like as a whole. And
Mm-hmm.
season two was pretty weak for me,
Mm,
for
yeah.
Agent Carter. And yeah, it was like the first time that um, like since the MCU had started that Marvel did something that I wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
thrilled
Oh,
about.
really?
Like it was fine. It was okay.
Right.
It was like the first disappointment.
Huh.
Um,
Oh man, I can see why. I just wish more people watch this show because I think it kind of has that like Agents of Shield. Like I like Agents of Shield, but like
mhm.
they had like bumpy roads in their like early seasons, but
Yeah.
they didn't like hit it after they were in season 4. You know,
Hmm.
and I just think it didn't have a chance to like continue. Like some of the other shows, and that for me is always disappointing with Agent Cotter. Um, but I understand why you put it. Um, I mean, season 2 is definitely a step down from first season, but man, I always dug the time period and just the like alternate history. It's
Hmm.
just I like it how it's throwing back like the TV serial of the day and TV show.
Hmm.
Because we don't do that. I don't know, like we don't do the format anymore in TV network or in general shows.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there were things that I really liked about the show, especially
yeah.
just Haley Atwell returning.
Oh, oh
But
yes. Oh man, I agreed. Yeah, that's shock. I'm happy it's number 10. I mean, I agree with your spot there, so I'm happy about that part. So
all right,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. What about you?
Okay, so obviously this is I don't think a surprise from everyone or for me number 10 I decided is What If, the animation TV series. Um, I'm sorry, I think it's probably the weakest that the MCU has produced. Um, I enjoyed they understand what is What If. I just wish that it wasn't connected to the MCU, and I just feel like some of the episodes were very juvenile, and I I I don't think it really show what kind of potential you can do for a what if. Like you can have like a the Matrix animation movie called the was it Animatrix or something like that, right? And you see different types of animation, like 2D or computer generated or anime. Like seeing all those different types in a Marvel centric Elseworld story, that could have been an awesome show. But what
Hmm.
we got here is just like a pain, just like focus of the MCU, which I like the universe, but like I don't think there's enough to tell in the universe yet. Um, and I just think it was just a missed opportunity for me. And I don't like the Thor episode. Uh, the
Hmm.
It was really
Definitely,
off.
yeah.
Oh my,
The weakest
yeah,
episode in a series of weak episodes.
yeah, and it's like I right there just tells you how bad it was because like you and I just ramble about other things and didn't fully discuss the episode. So I was like, yeah, this is bad. Like I don't care, and so it's just like, and then they just try to throw like, and then this is the thing I don't like. This is the thing I didn't like with the CW shows. It's like they it seemed like they didn't have a plan, but then all of a sudden, towards the end of the show, they have this like MCU phase plan where they were going to do the Guardians of the Multiverse. Like, why do it like
Yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose of what if.
exactly?
Like, it
Uh,
shouldn't be building towards something. It should be like individual stories.
it should be more like Twilight Zone and mixed
Hmm.
with Fargo, like something like that, like disconnected. Like
Hmm.
I I don't know, like that, like I like um the idea of Guardians of the Multiverse, like, and I like the lineup they had there, but like, I wasn't asking for that when I was watching the show, and you
Hmm.
should have put more effort to make that obviously during I'm watching the show. It's like I don't know, just a whole mess, and I just think it was okay. That's all. Not the worst, not the most hated in my mind of MCU things, but it was just lackluster, unfortunately. But what do you think, Will? Do you agree with this list? I mean, this 10.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it being on the list. Personally, I'm gonna put it much
Yeah.
higher.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say the reason why it's lower than higher
mhm.
is that I did enjoy some of the episodes,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I have well, so from my personal favorites is the Killmonger and the T'Challa becoming Star Lord. Those are two my favorite personal favorites of that series. And then third can place the Doctor Strange thing, and then afterwards it's like okay, I can rearrange that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So but it has good moments. I would say Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher, great casting. I think that was the perfect thing about the show. Is the Watcher was typically like typically accurate from what I seen and read from the
Mhm.
comics. So that
Yeah.
was a good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of right. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I love him. He's great. He's great
Mhm.
in the Batman. As Commissioner Gordon, and he's great in Westworld, of course. And
Mhm.
yeah, really great, awesome actor, just perfect. Yeah. I hope we see him in the live action. I mean, I like you know.
I mean, we might. There was that
Yeah.
like um in the Thor trailer. There was a statue of the Watcher. I think
Oh really? Okay, I didn't see that. Oh boy.
it was like in the background.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I need to. Yeah. The second trailer came out. That was awesome. Just seeing Gord, the
Hmm.
butcher.
Hmm.
Oh man, so excited for that villain now. But yeah, that's my number 10. Ready to go to number 9?
Yeah,
All right. You first.
sure. Mine was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I knew this was coming.
Yeah, I mean they just dropped the ball on so much of that movie. Like
Mm,
there was a lot that I enjoyed,
yeah.
but the, the the things that they got wrong, they got very wrong. Um,
Mm, yeah.
yeah, it just
Ugh.
felt very messy.
Whew. My number nine. I will say my number nine will beat your nine because I think it's way messier than Doctor Strange too. But
Hmm.
anyway, yeah. No, no. I was not surprised he put this here. I knew. I was thinking it could be easily 10 or maybe higher. So I was like, how you place this one? But yeah. Um. But why is not high in your list? I'm kind of curious. Like,
There's other one like there are things about it that I thought were really like interesting. There's like visuals from it that were cool. Like I liked the music fight scene.
oh yes,
Um, yeah, I
yeah.
mean I thought there were like certain sequences of the movie that were done well, like
Hmm.
the souls of the damned and like the
Oh
whole like zombie strange thing at the end. Like that was
yeah.
really cool. There's like stuff that's like memorable and interesting. Um,
Hmm.
that keeps it from being like at the
High.
like yeah from being like
Yeah.
the worst of the stuff, but it's on the list.
Yeah. I agreed. Yeah. There, like, it has like moments that like I just think for me it was just the tile. I think they should have changed the tile, and then
Hmm.
I don't think we have this really just. I think like awful or not like awful. Like I think this misrepresentation of what the film was really is.
Hmm.
You know, like I do agree it's like a horror film, but I don't think it's this crazy like Lovecraftian movie
Yeah,
that I think
there's
people.
not a lot of madness
Yeah,
and
exactly,
there's not a lot of multiverse.
exactly. I just don't understand that, and but they stuck with that for the last, oh my god, since 2019, like 3 years or 4 years. It's just
Hmm.
um I don't know. It's just like I mean, like I get it. It was a cool tile, but like, and you if you were thinking like the expectation people was having, like I mean, I could tell you, my friend, like what is it, Miss Flamingo, like we were bringing up the conversation when Phase 4 was announced. Everyone put Doctor Strange 2 as their number one anticipated film, and they should have known that they had to deliver, but they didn't. Um, I mean, they didn't deliver halfway through. I'll say,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, oh boy, yeah, I agree with that part. Any more to say about Doctor Strange 2?
No,
Any,
I think I've said that in our like previous discussion of the movie. So
yeah,
yeah, on
it,
to your
it,
number nine.
yeah. If you want to hear Will's and our thoughts on Doctor Strange 2, we have the full spoiler cast in the trial now. In the trial channel now. Okay, so for my number nine, I think this movie is much messier, which I'm talking about Iron Man 2. That's my number nine. Um, I mean, it's I. This was the third MCU film after the first Iron Man film and the Incredible Hulk, and they were recently were bought from Disney, so they didn't have much revenue. So Iron Man was the only thing they have to continue, right? And what you got here is a mess of a movie that is struggling too much storylines. Um, I mean, the worst MCU villain. I mean, like not as bad as Malekith from Thor: The Dark World, but like it's just a messy film, and just a disappointing follow up from the first Iron Man film. I just feel like it. Um, just there were some ideas that were neat, and then there were some that I did not care for, but they just focused on that. Like if I felt like the comedy was the focus and not the story. Like they were just gags they were focusing on. But I was like they what was the gag that they thought it was funny, but it wasn't. Like the bird thing was like I don't care about the bird at all. It's
Hmm.
like and or and then or like Iron Man handing things like he didn't like to be hand things, which I brought up in the Avengers where it was like a weird like thing they put for Tony, and then
Hmm.
I was so happy they made that as like a funny thing in the Avengers because I thought it was stupid. And when I saw that, I was like, why are you doing that? It's just I don't know. Uh, I mean, I don't know. A very messy film. What do you think? Well,
Yeah, I mean that was one of the movies that I was like toying with putting at number 10.
mm,
Like it's around there. Like it's not going to be on my list, but it
oh
almost was.
yeah, yeah. This is a lesson. This in Thor: The Dark World, never to rush a sequel. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, this is a good example of not rushing a sequel. I mean, there's a few exceptions of this. Like, Fast Five came out 2 years after the fourth film, and that was successful. Spider-Man 2 was in 2004. That was like 2 years before, well, after the first Spider-Man film in 2002. Like, there's an exception, but like the 2 year turnaround is not good for a film, and this is just a good example of it, of like just rushing in to the production and not having like a solid, you know, screenplay for a film.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then there's there's just things that like like logically doesn't make sense. Like I never understand about the new was it arc reactor that Tony has to make. Like it's so like it's like comic book like logic. Like it doesn't make sense. And how you could create a new element. Like there's like okay, like there's a scene where he discovered the blueprint of this like
Yeah, I don't.
tournament, and then they cut it to him. Oh, I know what to do, and he made a new one like in 10 minutes.
Right.
Like
I yeah, the way that they frame it, it's like he's like finding the blueprint for a new element when like all you really need to do is just add like another proton.
yeah,
Like
no, I I was like what? And then there was a funny I laugh at this line because it's like how you know it's tasty? Like he say it tastes like coconut. I was like what? Uh, oh my god. I mean just oh my god, the logic and the storylines just like and then it's like too many characters as well. Like the villains is like way undercooked. Um, compared to Ironmonger. Like I mean, Ironmonger towards the end of the first Iron Man film doesn't make sense, but at least Jeff Bridges is the thing that keeps it like holding for me for that
Hmm.
film.
Yeah.
But here, like having two villains just completely just doesn't hold it. Like I like Mickey work, but like I mean. I appreciate what he was trying to do in the behind the scenes stuff to like, develop his character, but again, just they cut out so many scenes and it's just he's very just I mean underdeveloped villain really. And then Justin Hammer, where I mean this is before I knew Justin Hammer, before I read comics. Like I I wasn't like you didn't expect this whiny sidekick villain be the best thing about this movie. You know, it's
Hmm.
just it just shows you how good Sam Rockwell is as an actor.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I hope they bring him back.
Yeah, I hope was it that other Disney Plus show Armor Wars, like
Hmm. Or
he has
Ironheart.
oh yes Ironheart, like Armor Wars makes sense because he the character Justin Hammer is heavily involved with that storyline, so hopefully he comes back in either Iron Project. But yeah, oh god, Iron Man 2. uh you have anything to say about Iron Man 2, Will? uh
Just there's problems that are like very common with sequels where they just try to do like the exact same thing as the first one, but like playing to
Mm,
what they think
yeah.
the audience wanted. Like that's where I think a lot of that humor that you were um, saying didn't work. I think that's where that came from. Is they're like, oh, they liked the humor of the first movie. What if we like rushed that and forced it? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. This what was it? Like famously the first Iron Man film, it was like very improv, and
Hmm.
I think they were doing it again here, but it didn't work this time around because there was just too many demands, and so
Hmm.
it couldn't fit to that. So that's the problem. So yeah, and you speaking about sequel, um, I I think yeah, and that, and also the worst sequels is when they go 180-degree and it becomes this weird, like bizarre sequel. Which this sequel doesn't do that, but like like
Hmm.
Batman Returns, like if you like the '89 film, because let's face it, the '89 film is a spectacle '80s action film. But then when you get to Returns, it's a Tim Burton film, basically. Really,
Hmm.
just it's like a freak show movie. I it's or like Green Limbs 2, the new batch. I know you've seen that film, but like
No, I've
a
only
com-
seen the first one, but I know the second one from that Key and Peele sketch. If you've seen that.
oh my god, I didn't know they did that. Oh my god, yeah. So
Uh,
I think that sketch told you what kind of film it was. Oh, it's oh my god, it's crazy. Well, you will like it. It's one of the best comedies. You will love it. There's a yeah, there's a Greenland that reminds me of me. And anyway, weird, but it is funny. Oh my god, Joe Dante, he's a great filmmaker. I don't know if you've seen his film Ogvi, but that sequel is really fun. He like tears apart the first film in a meta way. It's just so like bat crazy sequel. It's just oh my god. Anyway, any more Iron Man 2 to discuss? I
no,
mean,
I'm all right.
all right. Well, let's get into our number eight. What's your eight?
My eight was Captain Marvel.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yeah, the movie was really boring to me, and like I it feels unfair for me to put it on here because I've only seen it once.
Mm,
I saw it in theaters, but I've just had no desire to go back and rewatch it,
right.
and it
Uh,
like the main problem is that it suffers from like things that prequels often suffer from, where they feel the need to explain like everything. Like
well, I, I
I
mean,
didn't need to know why Nick Fury had an eye patch. I didn't need to know like why they were called why it was called the Avengers Initiative.
oh, that one I
Like
did not like. Yeah.
and then
Uh,
I don't know, like the villains weren't memorable.
whew,
Um,
yes.
Captain
How?
Marvel was like not that like charismatic.
Hmm, yeah. Well, I don't think it's Brie Larson's fault. I just think.
No,
Oh, you think it's her fault?
no, I don't. I was
Oh,
agreeing with you.
okay. Oh, okay. I was like,
I've seen
oh,
her be good in other things.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Because I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't help that your character is what's the word? A in not
Amne-
like a
amnesiac.
niche character, yeah,
Yeah,
a
like
niche character, yeah, that like doesn't remember things,
hmm.
but then they contradict that where she still feels like the same person. It's just I you're not making the effort. You're like the directors are not making Brie Larson more to like differentiate the personality of this like person that has lost her memories to the one that was the confident, badass badass pilot, right? They so it's just like they didn't went through to the idea, and so like the amnesia thing just feels so like I afterthought, really, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to mention this. This movie's in my list, and it's actually a lot higher.
Okay.
So, um, can you like tell me why it's like low in your ranking? Because I'm kind of surprised. I thought it could be a lot higher in your list, but tell me why.
Um, I mean, there's like some pity for it since I've only seen it once and I'm still putting it on here. And then other than
Oh,
that, there are just movies that I think are worse than that. There's one coming up where like it probably is a better movie,
mm,
but I've seen it more
more
times.
times. Oh my god, I'm curious about that one now.
Okay.
Oh god. Well, I can understand why. So I mean, yeah, I seen bits of it again in TV, and I think some parts do hold well, but then there's others that I think, okay, yeah, this didn't work when I first initial saw it in theaters.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. I just think it wasn't a home run for Marvel Studios, really, for like a female-led superhero film. Like, I just feel like it was like catch up because DC and Warner Brothers beat them because they put out Wonder Woman first, and it's
Hmm.
like I just wish they just followed their success and put it into Captain Marvel instead of make it like I'll get into my conversation about and my ranking of the Captain Marvel movie. I just think there was just too many agendas and hard push to make it progressive. I don't want to get too critical, but it just did not work, and I think it failed to make the impression that they wanted it to be. So, um, and make Captain Marvel, sorry, Captain Marvel be this next character that everyone loves, like Iron Man and Captain America, which that doesn't happen, sadly. So, yeah. Any more you want to say with Captain Marvel?
No, I guess we can get to it when we get to it on
Okay.
your list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. So, shockingly, my number 8 I have is the first for the Disney Plus. Well, I mean, whatever it's Disney Plus, but this one is the first of the live action Disney Plus shows. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is at my number 8.
All right.
Uh, yep. So I will keep it simple. I kind of agree with Will. It's a very messy show. It's not good because it does way too much. I would say. I at the beginning I was like, okay, I like this. I like the conflict between Sam and then this John Walker character. But then got into more of the flag smasher and the whole pirate broker storyline. It got very convoluted and just
Hmm.
like, okay, I don't know where you're going. And the only redeeming quality was the action, Simo, and uh, that's it. That's all I can say.
I
What I like about the show.
I thought Walker was good.
Oh yes,
Um,
Walker. I like Walker too. I'm sorry.
and I liked the like dynamic between Sam and Bucky. So that was always
Yeah. Um.
fun.
Yeah. I see. I wish they focused more on that. I wish it was more like a buddy cop show.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And then
Y-
they
Oof.
like almost had interesting discussions about like
Yeah.
race and that kind of thing, but they would like back off because it's Disney Plus,
Yeah.
um, and it needs to like appeal to everyone. Um,
Oh
I don't know. There
well.
was a lot of stuff that like was like almost there too.
Right. I I I think um I think that Disney I think putting the political agendas and all that could work.
No,
It was
I
mess
yeah,
it was
I
messy
think.
because
Mhm.
oh I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
you go first.
Let me express this. We have Winter Soldier. It did a good job of expressing its political ideas in a very meaningful way. Thing about the show is that they have way too many of it, and they didn't like close off some of the ideas they were talking about, or there were some that they were bringing up, but they completely drop off because of some rewrite, right? Because the show was heavily rewrited during the pandemic, right? So that caused a disjoint of like where you're hinting at with these conversations, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is they bring up topics, but then they don't spend time exploring them.
Yes,
They just it feels like they're just like paying lip service to it and then moving on to like an action sequence and then trying to like wrap everything up neatly in a bow, which is not really how
how it works, you
political
know?
discourse works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, this is the start of like I think every time we have the show, we always have the question: did they deliver it in these certain amount of episodes? And I don't think Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't do that. I really feel like this show should have been an eight or 10 episode run than a six, because I don't think the six
mhm.
episode didn't help for this show really.
Yeah, they could have spent more time uh, kind of explaining the Flag Smashers or Sharon's motives.
Yeah, yep, I agree. Yeah, and just quick thing. Uh, Villains overwhelming, but at least we got a good guest villain. That was fun,
Mhm.
you know. Um, yeah. So that's all I had to say for the Falcon and Winter Soldier because I know you have that in your list, so we'll discuss that more in detail.
I actually don't have that in my list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I. Oh, this is funny. I thought you were gonna have it. I thought this was high in your list. Oh my
No,
god. Oh my god. No, no.
there were parts of it that were like enjoyable enough.
Okay.
Whereas, yeah.
Oh boy. I well, I'm kind of happy I actually put this in the show because I think this is easily the weakest of the Disney Plus shows. Um,
Uh, I
I
think
mean,
I would agree with that too. I don't have any of the Disney Plus shows on my list.
oh wow. I think that's hold on, let me this will be the last thing I will say. Yes. So this is my second and last of the Disney Plus shows because then the rest of the shows are not the network ones.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I just think um because I enjoy Hawkeye because we gave Hawkeye more of a spotlight, and Loki was a great show that delivered its premise and it actually worked in the 6 episode run. And I like Moon Knight because it was a alone content, didn't connect at all with the MCU, which is good. And then I love Wonder Vision, so that's it.
Hmm.
I just think this one was like vanilla, which I wasn't expecting. So
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
disappointing.
very middle of the road. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's but it has its moments which I like. The
Hmm.
action is good. I agree. The characters I do like. I like Bucky and Sam still. I really like Walker. Love Simo still. He's great. I think him being in the show definitely helps it. And yeah, and just seeing other MCU things to come here like the Leaper, bring him back, and
Yeah, that was good.
yeah, and more of like the Wakanda soldiers, the
The
Mishar or
Dormelage.
the
Yeah.
Melarge, yeah, like seeing them and seeing Bucky's like getting rid of his brainwash was so great, and I really
Hmm.
like that. So it's in low on my list because at least it has great moments that overcomes the weak parts for me. So
Hmm.
yeah, so that's all I'd say. So okay, let's get into number seven. What's your number seven?
Number seven is the Incredible Hulk.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
I was expecting that. uh, I mean, a lot of people put this as two or one. I mean, like this and Thor: The Dark World is like tied for the worst, right? We can say that.
There are parts of Thor 2 that I like
Well, we
enjoy,
like,
so
yeah,
it's like it's not that bad.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's Thor 2 is like there are fun parts, whereas the Incredible Hulk, I've watched the movie so many times now, um, and I'm so bored every time.
Oh man.
I don't want to see two CGI monsters hitting each other. I'm so tired every time that happens.
Ooh. Oh boy. Um, I understand that. Um, I think there's a much bigger problem with this movie than the monster fight. I mean, because
No, there are a lot of problems with this movie,
yeah,
but
we which is weirdly, I would say I like the last fight between the Abomination and the Hulk because I wanted that more in the sequel because they were heavily talking about it as like an action film, and they barely have action scenes in that film, and like
hmm
um yeah, that film is weird. Like we discussed it in the channel, which I'm happy we did because like again reiterate my point about this film why it failed back in 2008 is because it it well a it had way too many production problems having an actor control your script and just never allowed to do that in your film and um and then they were trying to like really the Hulk film from the last Hulk film that didn't work. So they were like reactionary from the last film. It's like okay, they don't want this dark cerebral film. They just want the classic Hulk, like the Incredible Hulk film, TV show.
hmm
Sorry,
hmm
and but then they lead into it too much of the like very like soap opera like melodrama, which is fine. You could do it well, but like they didn't do it that well in this film. Unfortunately, it just comes off like really boring and stuff.
hmm
And and lastly, and you can maybe add more to your thoughts on this film. For me, it has the Superman Returns problem where I think people were kind of confused of like, was this a sequel, a reboot? Like, it doesn't help that you don't have an origin story for this new version, and so it just adds more confusion. I think it's just not a well machine film to introduce this new version of Hulk in this supposed to shared universe you were supposed to get into.
hmm
So that's the failure of it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So any more thoughts on the Incredible? Sorry, I, it's just
No, it was all good.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it feels like they weren't entirely sure what they were doing or like what the MCU was going to be.
yeah.
And
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's why the first argument worked, and they went with that. um, yeah. It's just weird. It's funny. I saw a video, and they mentioned the director of it. Apparently, he like right away this film is going to be dramatic and just like going to be studio control.
hmm
He was pushing hard to be this dark and psychological film, but he allowed Marvel Studios to cut the film to pieces to meet this like action fast fugitive story, and he didn't fall for that. So I just feel like it didn't have a clear vision, really. Like it was just like, oh, we need to hit this, and that, and then that's it. and like no clear vision of what you really want for this character in film. You know,
Hmm.
so because that's the problem with Captain Marvel, and that's kind of like the problem with Thor 2, and some of the worst ones is the no director vision. So yes, but yeah. Any more thoughts on the Incredible Hulk? Uh,
No, I'm ready to move on.
okay, so my number seven. It will let me give you a heart attack, Will, but we'll see. Uh, Ant Man and the Wasp is my
Oh,
number seven.
yeah,
So
I disagree strongly, but that's all right.
yes, I have to put this one because I mean it's not high on my list, but I just strongly like I okay. It's weird. I didn't see too much of the first film, but I saw this film much in TV. Weirdly, um, I will like throw out the positives. I really still like Paul Rudd's Scott Lang. I think he's still a great character, and everything about like him, his storyline in this movie, like the daughter, him, like his decision of becoming the hero again, but like trying to help out the Pans and all that, it's generally great. It's not my problem about this film. My problem with this film is that they want me to care for this main plot line of like, oh, we need to find Jen in the quantum well, and that's your main whole film, and you cannot make me care for that because I don't like that. So,
What don't you
uh,
like about it?
I so I mentioned this in my first Iron Man. Sorry, not Iron Man. My first Ant Man film. The thing that I liked about the first one was it had a focus and had like a genre that they pick. It was a heist film, and this one I didn't like. We went too far in the comedic side. Like it just felt too juvenile for me.
Hmm.
Like it felt like a '90s comedy, really. You know, and not in a bad way. Like there's things I like about the sequel, but like I don't like I still like it's a small scale film, but I don't like I don't like the Walton Goggins character here. Like why we need him where we have Ghost and Bill Foster's characters.
Hmm.
And I didn't like some of the comedic um repetitive ideas that was they already did for the first film and they had to restart it again. Like the Hope and Scott relationship. Like we had to go that over again. Like she's mad at him because of Civil War and it's like, I don't need this really. And and what else? I'm trying and someone mentioned this. I like this. It's a weak concept, but like it's greatly executed in this film. Like this is a bland concept being greatly executed right by director Peyton Reed. And it's like why do you're focusing on this one idea of like trying to find Jane? You could have done maybe more fantastical things. I don't know. I feel like the sequel just miss opportunity. Like just not using Michelle Pfeiffer for just those few minutes. It's like wrong. It's like you have Michelle Pfeiffer. Do something with her.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, hopefully she has an expanded role in the third
and
one.
yeah, the third one. So, but yeah, I just I don't know. Like they they try so hard to make me like this Pam, the Pam family, and it's like I don't care. It's like they're not the main focus of these films. I mean, they're co lead, but like I don't know. Like I'm following Scott Lane the most in these films and outside of it. So I
Hmm.
don't know why I don't know. So it's yeah, a very just lackluster sequel. It's just uh, nothing new and just they didn't add nothing. I would say, but I don't know. It's just me. But what do you think, Will, of this ranking? I mean, I know you disagree, but
Yeah, I'm interested in what you said about like not being interested in it because you're you're following Scott Lang, and it felt very Pym focused. Because obviously, like Hank Pym is one of my favorite characters in the comics. So when I'm watching those movies,
Yeah,
I'm very into all the Hank Pym stuff. Uh,
yeah.
so I
Um,
wonder if that's part of it.
okay, so let me make this very clear. I really like Kingpin as a character. I love him in the Avengers Earth Minus Heroes. He's great in the Ultimate Avengers direct-to-DVD films. Um, I really like that character, and I know the abusive white thing storyline. It's kind of touchy, but I think it's an interesting direction if you take good care of it and not go in a very mean-spirited way or really awful implication. But
Yeah, you'd have to be very careful with how you handle it. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and my thing about these films, they they're trying to do that, without it, which is fine. You can do it,
Hmm.
but I just don't understand the bickering of like why Hank is doing this. Like, he did something to Bill Foster, right? Um, and I was like, okay, I understand that, but like, well, why make like why like I don't understand the implication of it. Like, they're not clearly discussing it fully, for me to understand this like dark past that Hank Pym did. Like, they're trying to make him a very ambiguous character, which it isn't. It's a very clear like, oh, he just did it because he thinks the people will take it in the wrong direction.
Hmm.
I I don't know. And I like Hope. I do like that she's the boss, and I just personally for me, I don't like I don't know like nothing new for this Hope character. She's just like the straightforward lead, which is fine. But like I seen that so many times with the female characters. It's like you know. So yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah. Yeah. Just and I mentioned the comedy. I know comedy is subjective, but there were some moments. Some of the comedy didn't hit for me in this film. That's like another reason I don't like particularly. Not fond with this film. I would say I don't hate this film, but like I don't find it as fun or interesting like the first film. I will say so. Like the whole Luis speech like flashback. It's still good, but like I don't think it's as good as the first film. You
Yeah,
know?
it's like I was saying about Iron Man 2 earlier, like
Yeah,
things that they know people liked the first time and they're just like trying to do it but faster.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and this film totally has that. I will say that will. Like, it does have some of the sequel bias thing
Hmm.
in some areas, and but then there's some areas they actually improved from the first one. I would say. Let me say this: I do like the villain Ghost here. I think is
Hmm.
a better villain over the first one.
Hmm.
Um, uh, what's the first villain's name? Little Jacket.
Hmm.
I like Bill Foster's Lawrence Fishburne. And I why he didn't become a giant man? Like, he is a hero in the comics. Like, come on, that could have been fun to see in the theaters.
Well, maybe next time.
Saving it next time, next time, baby. And then there's like, nope, we're not doing that. Well, I mean, we don't know. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So it's a very bland sequel for me, and it's just it's kind of there, like
Mhm.
I will say it's not their fault. I think it's the fault of the Marvel Studios to put this in the summer, 2 months before Infinity War came out, and it's like, why you do that? Just
Yeah,
I don't know. So anyway,
it wasn't two
uh,
months before Infinity War. Oh no, it was. Was it? No, two
no,
months
like
after.
April. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right.
April it came out, and then May, June. Yeah, 2 months
July.
because it came out. Yeah, it came out in July. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry for this long talk about Ant-Man and Wasp, but I just had to get that out there. So
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah. So but I don't hate it. It's number seven. I think it's like this is where it's like it's not bad for me, but like I just don't care for it. You know,
Hmm.
that's how I view that list. But now entry six is where I really like start to really don't like these films or shows right now. So anyway, let's go into number six. Will take us to your number six.
Yeah, my number six is Black Widow.
Oh, what? Oh,
Yeah.
I had a heart attack now. Oh my god! All right, all right. Tell me why. Oh my god.
I This entire movie is that thing that I was saying before about
Okay.
Captain Marvel, where it's like prequels that feel the need to explain everything.
Okay.
Um, I did not need background about the Budapest line in the Avengers. It like really bothers me that they were like, oh, let's explain that in great detail. Like it works best as a one-liner. Please don't.
Yes.
And then they like the entire plot of this movie is just like throwaway lines from the Avengers and then like trying to connect the dots to make a movie. Um, it's so
Wow.
annoying. And then uh, I don't know, the CGI is not great. The villain is awful.
Mm.
Dreykov is so bad.
Oh my
Like
god.
his plan doesn't make sense. The logic of like how the Black Widow program works doesn't make sense. Like
Mm.
why? How is he controlling their brains with pheromones that are also
Um. Uh.
like
I mean, I. It's a theme from the comics, but they don't do it well in this
it's
movie, unfortunately.
it's I haven't heard that in the comics, but I'm sure it also doesn't make sense there and is a
No.
problem. But
No. No.
um, so bad. And then he's like really hammy Russian accent. I like that. There are good parts of this movie. Like the
Yeah.
four like family members are phenomenal.
Yes.
But they can't like they don't do enough to save the movie from itself. Like because
Oof.
everything else about that movie was painful.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm kind of glad I saw it twice.
I saw it twice too, but
Oh.
I'm not glad
Well.
about it.
I'm sorry to hear that. I wow. Well. Okay. I agree with you with the CGI, the villain, and also the Avenger lines being a thing. Like I agree with that. That one did bother me. I was like I never understood why people make such a big deal of Budapest.
It
Like
was a good joke, and
yes,
the thing that you do when there's a good joke is you don't run it into the ground.
yeah,
That's what this movie
yeah.
did.
I know. Well, see, I didn't like the way they did it here. Not to. I I just wish we did it with Hawkeye. Like I just wish maybe we had a mini series where we did a flashback with it. You know, to give
No,
more.
I don't want that either.
Oh, okay. Well,
Like, let
hmm,
the mysterious spy have a mysterious background. You don't
that's
like.
true.
Please don't explain everything.
Mm,
Like
that's true.
that movie could have been about anything. It could have been a completely new story about something we'd never heard of before, and that would have been
Mm,
more interesting.
yeah,
Because Natasha's been around for a really long time. There's a lot of stuff that you could see her do, and it would be interesting because the character is interesting. But instead, they were like, "Oh, let's just explain stuff that was like fun and vague before, and just demystify that. Take all of the like mystery
yeah.
out of it."
Oh wow. Mm. Oh yeah, yeah. I understand why you put this high in the list. I mean, it does the same problem as Captain Marvel. For me, why I was tempted to put in a list, but then I was like, no, I think it's better than Captain Marvel because there was way more redeemable things about sorry, Black Widow. The action was better than Captain Marvel. the supporting characters were much more my favorite coming out from the film than Captain Marvel.
Mm.
And I I will say, in terms of the prequel, let's. When I say in prequel, I'm not mentioning the Avenger tie-in with like the Dreykov and the Bupets. Not that part. I I like how it plays between Civil War and Infinity War of the development of Natasha there, because it does help me understand where she is at in that saga in Phase 3. I like that part. Um, and there's other people things. I did appreciate the jacket being from Alea. I really like that's a touching like pickle thing that I totally accept, and I really like that. Let's get this out of the way. I really enjoy Florence Pugh as Alea. I think she's really
Hmm.
great. That's the best thing about this movie. I think the sisterhood, the sister rivalry slash relationship really helps me really enjoy this film, and I think the family thing saves this more than Captain Marvel, where Captain Marvel is my hated in my ranking because they push too much of these ideas. Like she doesn't have a love interest, or a love interest. Carol Danvers, where Natasha doesn't have it here, but she has like very healthy platonic relationship. Like the weapons deal or whatever his name is that gives her the extra queen jet. I forgot his name. I don't know his.
Yeah, he was kind
He
of
was
forgettable,
supposed. Yeah, he was
but
forgettable. But I like their like friendship. Like
yeah.
I I enjoy that. I do have negatives. I do not like the baby thing, but my biggest problem was to the whole Taskmaster twist. They really were leaning on this twist, but it did not work. Like, first off, you cannot make me care for this character I barely know in this first film that you're introducing this character,
Hmm.
Dreykov's daughter, and that's the fault of the film.
It's, it's
You
it's
know,
another line from the Avengers that they were like, oh, let's
yeah,
expand into.
I don't understand that. I'm
I
like,
yeah, I hated it so much.
yeah,
Um,
it's just
yeah,
and it's just so like why and they I the and then the CGI fight, like the falling sky thing, it was like okay, we're going down here. I
hmm,
cannot defend that. It was I wish they stuck with the original deleted scenes. I don't know, you seen them.
no,
Ross being there, and Ross took Taskmaster, not the Black Widows, and they did have one deleted scene where she was going to meet the weapons friend, whoever his name was. Had a moment with the kid, and there was like a female child, and like she does the pose just what Natasha do when she has the widow Steiners. Like
hmm,
that was a great moment. I really loved that, and I wish it was in the movie. I feel like just there was way too many stuff in this movie, and I feel like it's a very undercooked film
hmm,
for me. But I I will defend it. I will defend it. It's a better female-led film for MCU film and recent superhero films. I really enjoy it more than the other female-led films we have. Um, I mean, still Wonder Woman's great. This is definitely second for me because the action is good, and I think everyone is top-notch in terms of their performance. So
yeah.
yeah. So yeah. Anything else? What was other critiques you have of Black Widow, or are you ready to move on?
I think I'm ready to move on. Yeah, and we've talked about it before.
Yeah. Well, we talked about podcast. It'll be fun to go back and discuss it more in like now that we like past the year afterwards. Like it'll be fun to like flashback and talk about the development leading to the film, and just our like more overall like now opinion of the film. One
Hmm.
day, but it's not today. Um. Okay. I have number 6.
Hmm.
Um. My number six.
Oh,
I know
oh yeah.
season three is it's better, but it still leans to that too much for me. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Will. I know. I know you're
I don't know.
disappointed. This.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, season two was bad,
Yeah.
but
I.
I don't
I
know.
just.
I never got the like. I never thought of it as like hating on men. Like the
Yeah.
villains were men who did horrible things, but they were like
I. There's
very
other
realistic
examples.
horrible things
Yeah.
uh, that men do.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I agree with that with Killgrave or yeah, Killgrave.
Season
Purple
three
Man.
is as well.
Yeah.
And
I
then season two, the villain was her
just
mom,
not.
right?
Well, yes and no. See, that's what I mean. Is like,
Season two, I would put around here, if not lower, or
yeah.
meaning higher on the list. But one was phenomenal, and
Mm,
three was okay.
yeah.
Um, so
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
like I had thought about putting this as number 10, but the first season was so good that I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I I don't want to. I don't want like. I don't trust the showrunner's direction to Jessica Jones, and there were things like culturally, like they stereotypically do these tropes that I don't think it's really tiring, and they did it again. Like the mom, specifically the mom is like a crazy, like she's just a crazy mom. You know, like it's
mhm.
like the conversation of the faithful attraction trope. Like why we have to do that? It's like not every mom is bad. Like yes, there's some, but like why we have to lean into that again? And then they were trying to make her sympathetic towards the end before what was it? Trish killed her,
Yeah.
right? And and then the relationship of Trish and Jessica, I really like in the first season.
Mhm.
Excuse me, and ruined it in season two and season three.
Yeah.
Like I that's the reason I put this high is that that was not the direction I was expecting from the show in at least in three seasons. That's why I put it high on my list for me. Is the direction, the arcs heading towards the third season. Just I never saw that from the first season.
Mhm.
Like everything feels contradictory from what I was like. I saw like saw from the first season. Like speaking of season two, like I don't need the origin story for Jessica again, and then try to add in. That's such a bad trope. Like it was bad in Spider-Man 3. It was I mean, it was bad in Batman 89 with the Joker being the killer, but it's like I don't know. I just distrust some of what Melissa was Rosenberg, the showrunner of these three seasons, was doing with this show, and I'm sorry. I just don't think the show was like it's quality for me. It's like the quality drop each season. Despite the third one was better in the second season, but it just didn't bring back what I love about the first season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
me.
I mean, there's a problem with Jessica Jones where like the thing that really differentiates her from like other comic book characters is like um, her relationship with uh, the Purple Man and how like
Yes.
evil and twisted and messed up, but like in a very realistic way it is. Um,
Mm, mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's what makes it so like disturbing and compelling.
Mm,
But once you like move past the Purple Man storyline, no one ever seems to know what to do with Jessica.
well, and I like how you take out to my another point. I think it was a missed opportunity, and this quality drop, but also missed opportunity. You
Hmm.
have a detective noir show. You could easily make a season of episodes being case episodes, you know? And they
Yeah,
didn't do that, and that's the thing I hate about the show. They didn't took that opportunity. I ah,
yeah.
that's
I really want someone to figure out what to do with Jessica Jones because she should
yeah,
like I want her to be able to have like a life after Kilgrave.
yes.
Like
Or
I want to see that like I want to see her like her life improve after she's dealt with her
y-
trauma and the man who traumatized her.
yeah,
Um, but
hmm,
I don't know. Every time a writer gets to that point, they just seem to like lose steam.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I know. I two ways you can do for me. Well, the first one is just the obvious one. Obvious one for me is like the reason we love Daredevil, the Netflix show and the character is because of his villains. You know, yes, Bullseye, but most importantly, Kingpin. And yes, I don't like. I know season two of Daredevil is weak, but there's moments I like about that. But we still have Kingpin. I think you need to make Purple Man now to be the Kingpin for Jessica Jones. Keep him alive at that point.
mhm.
I I think the show should know that they had something good and they should keep Tenet around instead of killing off. You know, but
Yeah,
I think we need to keep Purple Man as the main villain for Jessica to fight. Or
yeah. I like
or what were you go ahead? What were you gonna say?
I do think that he's like the most interesting part of that show. I just hate that
Yeah,
he's the most interesting part of that show because
yeah,
it means if you want to like keep him around to keep it interesting, you have to keep torturing Jessica. And
yeah,
I want to see a story that's like told well, where it's like Jessica after she's like defeated him and she's
yeah.
like free of him.
Hmm. No, no, I agree. Um, yeah, and by going to this idea for me is maybe pick or give her an adversary worthy of Purple Man. Like, you know, now we dealt with the psychological villain like Purple Man. Like maybe try try to use power, hence villains. Because this show did the thing that I don't like about the Superman films is not to give a worthy adversary for this our main character. You
Hmm.
know, it's like after you have this like important character, like after what like Superman 2, like we just had General Zod and then that's it. And then we don't bring in comic book villains that we love, like Brainiac or Bizarro or Metallo or Toyman or Parasite. Like bring in some of the Marvel villains that could be a good adversary for Jessica Jones to fight. Okay, pick a physical villain. Maybe I don't know, like I don't know what muscle, like the Wrecking Crew. Like if you put that, and they're like this like terrorist group that have like an agenda, like a philosophy that can maybe it be interesting to take in a new direction for Jessica Jones to face. That
Hmm.
could be interesting. Or do some mastermind that like a criminal mastermind to have Jessica like a Lex Luthor type, then that could keep your um villain engaged, your hero slash villain engaged in the show. Because the thing I think is missed opportunity, they this show like did the mom have powers? I'm I'm forgetting now what the show what they did
I
like
think she did. Yeah, I think she had the same.
powers as her daughter.
Yeah,
Question
they
mark.
took the same. Um, I think it was inhuman growth hormones instead of mutant growth hormones.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, because we had the wizard in the show, right? The speedster, who was a chubby
Hmm.
man. He really funny. Oh yeah, yeah. I like do that. I mean, they could have done. Look here. Here's the thing. You couldn't make the Trish versus Jessica interesting, but I just did not buy it from day one when they like were trying to make that relationship strain
Hmm.
because it just was like first thought it was faulty, and then they forced it too far for me to like to care about this like almost like Loki slash Thor relationship or Charles or Eric's relationship. Like it wasn't like that because I understand where they were coming from a like a logical and illogical reason than what Trish and Jessica was at. It just came out very pity for me, and I just did not like it. I and it contradicted what I saw in the first season. So I think they did a bad move on Trish's character. Like she was like a character assassination for me for
Yeah.
the show. I don't know what you thought about that.
No, I agree. I did respect that in the third season they had like committed to making her a villain.
Hmm.
Um, but no, I agree. Like the promise that was there in the first season got wasted.
Yeah. 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 Just yeah. It's frustrating. I do like first season, but you just have to be consistent in a couple seasons for me to just like okay, I don't care about the bad seasons. Like Smallville has its moments. It has worse seasons, but there's some seasons I do like. You know, like season 5 of Smallville is great, and 8 is good. For me, and then like season 1 is good start for Smallville, or of the Flash. Like the Flash has first two seasons are good.
Hmm.
3 I can take it leave it. 4, 5 this is debatable, but I still like it. Season 6, I think, was a bet. It's definitely the third best season after first and second for me. And then it just went down at season 7. But I just like I never seen a show that had a first grade season and then dropped completely the ball in season 2. And for me, I get you get a good season for the third one, but it doesn't mean you you brought me back to liking this show. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I just don't think the third season didn't bring me back to like this show. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I just um you crossed the line for me in season 2 that you couldn't come back. Like a lot of people say that with Arrow when they did so much of that Felicity stuff. It's like you couldn't go back. Like with the drama there. So like you cannot expect me to forget that. It's like I'm
Hmm.
sorry. So that's my problem. So this is why it's number 6. Um, I still like the performances. I mean, like, look, Kristen Ritter is Jessica Jones, and I hope she comes back for this role in the movies. I
Yeah,
really hope, you
I
know?
have a feeling she will.
Yes. Oh my God, I hope
Yeah, I think they're
because
gonna start bringing back all of the Netflix people because the casting was all really good.
yeah. Oh God. I mean, the casting is good here. I mean, like, I like the Triss actress. I didn't know she was
Yeah,
the lady the lady scientist or hacker from the first Transformer film, and I was like, oh wow, you're
really.
actually, yeah, she's in the first Michael Bay Transformer film.
Huh.
She's that like she's actually Australian, so like she's making America's accent here, but like
Hmm.
she's okay there. I mean, it's just a glorified hacker.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen a Transformers movie, so I don't
Oh,
remember
yeah,
it.
yeah,
But
yeah. He's there in the first one. But yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. I had to let that out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Will. Okay, let's I think that's it for me for Jessica Jones and my 6. You wanna go to number 5?
sure,
Oh, you could
all
go
right,
first.
sure, yeah. Keeping uh, in Netflix, mine is Luke Cage.
Whoa, really?
Yeah,
Okay, I disagree with you
okay,
completely. Okay,
that's fair. That's fine. I
yeah, it's
there
fine.
are things that I like about Luke Cage. Um, it's just, oh man, it felt like they never knew what they were doing. Well, like the first half of season one, which like everyone says was good,
Yeah.
because it was. But then they like kill off the most interesting character, and replace him
Yeah.
with this like really just like weirdly campy like
Um, was it Diamondback,
yeah
right?
Diamondback. Um, yeah, it's just a weird choice. And then season two, I don't know. Luke's arc felt weird. Like
Mm,
I didn't like that he was like kind of getting corrupted. It felt like a weird place to take the character. Um,
mm.
yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird show with weird choices.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, I agreed. Ugh. I There was something for me that I just feel like the I don't know, like I don't know how many showrunners this show had, or like what was going on. Like, okay, this showrunner wants to do this part, and then but then some reason, almost like the half mark, they the 180-degree diverge from the storyline that we don't care. Like, this
mhm.
show was very obsessed with this female character. That people were making a deal because she was in Civil War, and then she was Maya. That was the name of the character here. Um, that was
Mariah.
Murata, the sister
Yeah,
of Karamov. I never understood why the show was so obsessed with this character.
I
And well, go ahead. Like, what do you think? Why they like
I
this
mean
character?
that actress is incredible.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
not. She's great.
and
I love her.
then I don't know, like she could be interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, like I was interested in season two when she had that relationship with her henchman.
Oh yeah, the
Like I that was an interesting dynamic. And
he
then
was interesting
didn't
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then didn't he also have a relationship with some other guy? I don't remember. I haven't
I
seen it since it came out.
Yeah, me too. I know what you're talking about. Will. Yeah, me too. It's been a while for me to see that show. Ugh. I, I think so. What was the glasses name? I need to look up now because I'm like, um, yeah, he was an interesting one because he was first a former henchman of Karamov, right?
Hmm.
And
Or
then
maybe
or
Diamondback.
oh really? Oh my god, I don't know. Diamondback was like a I don't know metal villain. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um. I'm sorry. Luke Cage. Let me get to the show. Okay, because I want to make sure. Yeah, 13 episodes. Let's see. Let me find the guy. I think. Um. Charlie. Was it? Striker. Not Shays. That's what's the character's name.
Shades, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think was he Shays Comics. Yeah, yeah. Chase is the guy. He's in first two seasons. He was like a former henchman for Tyremov before Maya kills him, right, in the season one, and then I think
Mhm.
he started to work with her. Yeah, and then I remember now, like they were seeking to retire from the gun business by investing in insured trading in season two. Uh, anyway, so yeah, so look season two. I I can see why. Luke Cage is a very disjointed show. Like it struggled to be grounded and then the same time be fantastical at the same time.
Mhm.
Like okay, like I mentioned Diamondback. If you folks don't know, Diamondback is like a Luke Cage villain, and of course Countermouth is a villain as well. Um, and then of course in season two you got Bushmaster, right? He's from the comics as well, and like one of the things that's been a criticism with the Netflix shows is that they really lean into the Nolan realistic world, like the greediness, which I like, but
Mhm.
still keep it comic booky, you know? Like like I think Spider-Man Homecoming did such a good job of balancing comic book things to grounded level, you know?
Hmm.
And I feel like these shows didn't handle that well. And I think Luke Cage struggled it the most because they were trying to like balance it, but it just never they never met the, the midpoint, unfortunately, I would say. So, you know. But yeah. Yeah, because like after you kill Karamov, then you got this uninterested character. Because I think Diamondback is a brother of Luke Cage, but I don't
Yes,
know. I don't know if this show did delve into that
they
at
did.
all.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I
there
think
was a subplot about their
okay,
like father who was a preacher. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I just personally for me, Luke Cage just struggled to be like it didn't know it was gonna be this like gas like grounded like urban street level show or I mean and most like or like a or like a black Superman, right? Right?
Hmm.
Show and it just didn't find the midpoint, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why. But I will never say it's the worst. But I will agree with you. It's very disorganized and they do lead into very unnecessary plot points for some reason. So that's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh. Anyway. Anything else for Luke Cage?
I guess I just want to say like a lot of the actors gave very good performances in that show.
Oh
Um,
yes.
so like it's low on my list because it feels very disjointed and everything, but the performances were incredible.
Huh, I agree. I mean, Mike Colton, or right?
Coulter, yeah.
Coulter, yeah, Mike Coulter. He's a great Luke Cage.
Hmm.
I love him. I he. I love how he gets the phrase the catchphrase "Sweet Christmas" so well. I love it.
Hmm.
I think he's such a perfect casting. And something I didn't like about Jessica Jones, or really these both shows, they didn't put him or and Jessica being together, which is weird. Like,
Yeah, I mean he was in the first season as Jessica Jones, but then they just kind of
yeah,
dropped it after that.
yeah. I hope we can get them back as a couple in the
Hmm.
movies
Yeah.
someday. You know, not
Hmm.
now. You know, um, because they had great chemistry. I do like them together.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, great casting. I mean, we brought up a couple of times Karamov. It is a little weird to see Mahershala Ali now. The fact that he's Blade in
Hmm.
the MCU. So, but hey, that's movies. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, great casting villains. I will say. I mean, yeah, ever. I mean, Karamov is definitely third after Kingpin and Kilgrave. You know.
Hmm.
So yeah. Any more? We have to say for Luke Cage.
No, I'm ready to hear about your number four or
Okay.
number five.
Five. Yeah. So my number five is also another mess you mentioned. Um. I will say this is a sequel to the most popular. Funny that we discussed this from last week, The Avengers, and of
Hmm.
course I'm discussing Avengers: Age of Ultron. This is my number five.
Okay.
Uh. Yeah. Um. It's middle there for me in terms of okay, this is where I like things about it, but I really don't like some things about it. Like it's turning for me as my worst MCU film, but it's not as bad. People are saying it to be, you know? Like I like the character interaction still. I really love more of Hawkeye's character development in this film. I really like the farm scenes. I mean, especially the Captain America and Tony conversation. Like this film did a good job of building the tense relationship that Tony and Cap has
Hmm.
before we see it fully in Civil War the year after. Um, just I think that film really delivered on setting that up. Um, they do a good job of world building. I like the introduction of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver
Hmm.
and Vision. Like, I mean, Vision is the best thing about this movie for me. Like, Paul Bettany is a great actor. I love that. Like when he lifts the hammer, when I first saw that, I was like, okay, I like this character. It's so kabuki. It's just so great. And yeah, and the Hulk stuff I really like. This is like the last time we're gonna get like a good like dealing with the dark like psychological Hulk and then just having fun with the Hulk in terms of the action scenes. They're like
Hmm.
the Hulk Buster versus the Hulk things is amazing. I love it. I mean, it's such a great action scene. And then we get down to Ultron. I think Ultron is a very interesting villain that
Hmm.
I feel like people misunderstood because it took me a while to me to care for this character until I understand what Whedon is trying to do with the film and its themes. Like I like one thing I will say, I like how this film is ambitious, but
Hmm.
I think it kind of struggles its ambitious themes and character development, and it sometimes slips too much. And I think that's one of the faults of this film. It handles too much stuff, and
Hmm.
you can't. I mean, you cannot fault Whedon because I mean, Marvel Studios was trying to set up a Phase 3, and you had to cram everything, and I think that's the wrong side to do a film. But I think overall, Age of Ultron is an okay film, but it does too much stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
You know. So but yeah, yeah, Age of Ultron. Is it in your list, Will?
No, it's not actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one is always in not in the top list, but like it's always in like the 4 or 3 of worst things about the MCU films.
Hmm.
So, because I mean, I get it, because like I guess I won't get into like the Black Widow and Hawk relationship. Um,
Yeah, that's bad.
yeah, really bad. I
Yeah.
I couldn't have been bought by the relationship if I didn't like the implication that we was doing it. Like I was like, okay, I don't like this relationship at all. You
Yeah,
know,
it could have been done well.
exactly.
Still
You
would
know.
have been weird because Scarlett Johansson was so much younger than Mark Ruffalo, but
Oh,
that's
uh, yeah, I don't
that's
know. For some reason, I don't know. Like some reason, I bought that. Then who's the other one that I just did not buy the relationship? Like the Sharon and Cap one. Like that felt way
oh
worse.
that's much worse. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Um,
I mean,
but
I don't know. That's always been a difficult thing about movies and like couples. It's like you cannot
you can't force it, but they
yeah,
feel like they're obligated to include it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Like that's why I like that we got Clea and Charles Thean and Doctor Strange too, because she's like the right age for Benedict Cumberbatch.
Hmm.
And so like I don't know, it's just it's difficult. I don't know. For some reason I don't have that problem with Scarlet and Mark for some reason. Maybe because I I don't like the relationship, but like they put them in a lot of scenes in the first Avengers film,
Hmm.
and they work really well together. And I just feel like I just don't like the implication and what Ween is
Yeah.
saying about it. Like that
Hmm.
part I don't like.
Yeah, I
But
don't like that either. But
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's bad. What else? That a lot of people complain. Like I know the humor. Like a lot of people complain about the MCU humor, and I know this one specifically. The humor is sometimes a hit and miss,
hmm.
and I think Wien was trying too hard to make it like a dark film, but then the MCU was trying to keep it in the summer blockbuster, and I just don't think it gelled so far of being this dark and fun comic book movie.
Hmm.
It struggled too much with tone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the big thing. Anything else with Age of Ultron?
No, I mean, it's not on my list because there's like stuff that I really enjoy from it, but it is deeply flawed. So I understand why it's
Yeah,
this
yeah,
high up on yours. Yeah.
yeah. I just wish the film just came together right. You know, it's like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's not. I know it's hard to make a sequel, but like, I think there's just things you should like watch what make the good sequels work, and just avoid the bad tropes of what a bad sequel do. You know, it's like
Hmm.
it's common sense. So, but anyway, it's just shared universe, unfortunately, and so it was just a lot to ask for this film to do. You know,
Hmm.
but anyway, let's get into our number four. Will, what's your number four?
Yeah. My number four was The Defenders,
Oh wow,
the
okay,
Netflix crossover. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I just,
Uh,
oh man,
Very
like
disappointment.
huge disappointment.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, just a
yeah.
weird mess of a show. Um, and like the hand, they were never that interesting in Daredevil. Um,
No,
like I every time they were on screen in Daredevil, I like just wanted to be doing Kingpin stuff.
yeah,
So and like Elektra wasn't that interesting.
yeah. They they always rush that storyline, and
Hmm.
like in the Daredevil stuff, I'm like, could you wait for a little bit longer to get to Elektra? You know, it's just
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just yeah, I get it. Yeah, yeah. It's always weird why you pick the hand as your main antagonist for a cross like this like Avengers like team up, right?
Hmm.
Like it should have been Kingpin, right? Like
I think that
or
would have made more sense. Like I think what they were thinking was like the hand could be involved with Daredevil and Iron Fist, so you get like
that's
the
sure.
potential for crossover appeal, and then also there's like an army that the team can fight, so it's not just like four against
Yeah,
one.
that's true.
But
Yeah. Well, I there was a lot of ways you could done with it. I'm surprised. Like I get there's too many characters you want to handle, but like you could have done like a villain team up for the show. You know,
hmm.
like I like okay, like if I say from my six list, you know, Jessica Jones, keep Purple Man, right? Okay, you got Purple Man. You can you can
I don't
easily. Or
I don't know
sorry.
if Purple Man would team up with anyone, but I think Jessica
Okay.
Jones is probably like the easiest one for you to get on like a team because you just have
Oh,
her investigating something that like happens to be connected.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's yeah, cause like yeah, like I don't know how the Phase One films did it so well. Like, okay, you got two Iron Man films to develop this universe, right? With Shield
Hmm.
and the other supporting characters that could be Avengers members, right?
Hmm.
And then you got the four, you know, like the other three Avenger films. Okay, you got the one like first Avenger like help you understand the Tesseract or the Cosmic Cube as the MacGuffin for that film, but also into the Avengers, right?
Hmm.
Or Thor, you had the villain. Here, it's like I I don't know, like there should have been other plot points to carry over the defenders, but they didn't do that. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I like I think Kingpin could have been a good villain for them to versus because like he could easily hire assassins, right? And then like he can just talk to the hand and say like, hey, give me like assassins to deploy to defeat Daredevil, and then like you know what I mean? Like you could have some assassin that like had an interaction briefly with Jessica Jones off screen, and then it's like, okay, I get why she's here, and then fair for us, you know.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, we didn't do that. And then, unfortunately, in my number four, this show was just not a martial art like show. So like some of the assassin stuff could have been just so awful and just didn't work. I
Yeah.
I just yeah. Yeah. And then crazy, like this show was 8 episodes. How could you mess up that? Yeah, 8 episodes. You didn't have 13, and it still was a slog to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could you do that? You know, like I like Delta Navy is more engaging than the show in 8 episodes. Like, I mean, like what is going on here? It's really bad. Uh, yeah, well, defenders. But what things do you like about the defenders? Let's get into that part. If you had that, like, do you have like a like in the show?
Um, I mean, Sigourney Weaver was in it. That's
Yeah, she was. Oh,
I like her. I don't remember anything about her character in it, but
yeah. Was she even a comic character?
I don't remember.
Oh my god, I need to check this now
Yeah.
because
I
it's
think
so.
yeah, I don't know.
I'm looking
Um
at it now.
yeah. I mean, Matt and Jessica had good like buddy cop chemistry.
Yes, I want to get into that. Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Hmm.
Uh, that I was not expecting that. That was a good like Avengers like character interaction to put on because like I don't think in the comics you see both of them together. It's like she's always usually with Captain Marvel, which they couldn't do in the show, but and or Luke Cage, right?
Hmm. Right.
And I think this show really did tap something that was really cool. Seeing Matt and Jessica, I think that was like the highlight for me in the show. So, by the way, uh, as Sigourney Weaver, she was playing a made up character. So,
Okay.
and her name was like Alexandra. So, okay. So, wow. So they didn't give her a comic character to play. So that's funny. So, yeah. Um, but yeah, and then I like the Luke Cage and Iron Fist relationship. That was cool. Um,
Hmm. Yeah,
but
I liked that episode in
season two, yeah, Luke
was it
Cage.
Luke Cage season 2? Yeah.
Yeah, that one was good. That was the best one.
That was
Yeah,
the best that we saw from
Finn Jones.
yeah.
Oh
Which
dear.
like I think he was good casting. It's just like the writing was always awful,
Yeah,
and then he didn't feel like committed to it. But
yeah,
I think he looked the part. Um, I don't know.
yeah. Uh, I feel bad for that actor because like Iron Fist had potential, and then they squandered it
Hmm.
completely. And and this, I mean, I don't want to go outside of superhero things, but like this is a good example of like what stereotypically Hollywood is. Like we were not yet being like culturally appropriate yet, and
Hmm.
like now we have Crazy Rich Asians, which yeah, I seen the film recently, and it's great. And then of course Shang-Chi was what Iron Fist should be, and they
Hmm.
didn't do that. It's just ugh.
Yeah. Um, no, I think there was like a really great opportunity to like deconstruct that like white savior trope with Iron Fist and to like
Oh
really like tackle that. Um, and like instead they just kind of like ignored it.
yeah,
Um, which yeah, I don't know. I there's there is a really good like Danny Rand Iron Fist story that could be told that like
Hmm.
deals with all of the baggage that it has. Um, and I
Yeah.
wish it had been that, but instead it's just
Yeah.
a mess. I
No,
mean,
no, I
it's gonna
understand.
be it's actually next on my list, but
Oh, it's funny because I have it as my number four. So can
yeah,
we transition to my number four?
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, so let's get into Iron Fist. I mean, it's not obvious. I mean, Iron Fist is the top worst MCU film show ever, folks. My number four, and I mean, let's get into like we mentioned it. It's very like it's culturally inappropriate. Like we got the white savior thing, which they completely. I mean, honestly, they ignore it
yeah. No,
because
they don't even address it,
exactly. Yeah,
which is
they don't dress it.
insane.
Yeah.
Just they were aware of it, like they were like talking about it during when the like casting process, and it was
Yeah.
like all over the place.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, yeah, let's just you know treat it like nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
there's such a great story that could be told of like this rich white kid that thinks he's gonna come in and like
Hmm.
save everyone. I like would love a story where Danny Rand is like super confident as the Iron Fist, and then he just gets like smacked down, and it's like explained to him that he can't just like
Yeah.
come in and fix everything, and he needs to like
Yeah.
do more
Like,
to understand. Like,
yeah. Um, I, I think the other way they could have done was to really reinvent Iron Fist completely
mhm,
from the ground up,
yeah,
right? Like, I, I just, I just don't know what Jeff Lowe was thinking. Um, or really the showrunners.
the showrunner is the reason that the show is so bad.
Yeah. Well, and wait, let me see. It's yeah, my number two. He's again gonna be brought up because he made another show the
Oh yeah,
same
he'll
year.
come up again for me too.
Yeah, and I just don't understand Scott Buck doing this because he just completely didn't understand the material. Like, and
Yeah,
this show felt like rush job really. Like,
it really did.
you know, like you know what I mean? Because like it felt like oh we need we need this show because we have the Defenders coming up. Like that, it felt like it was an obligation to do it, like
Yeah,
to connect the Defenders, which it didn't really need, right?
no,
You know, like I mean,
yeah,
I never had that with Phase One. Like I mean, yes, we had the Incredible Hulk, but there's certain things that did carry over the Avengers. It was just what's the word? They retextualized some of maybe the potential ideas or themes that they wanted to do in the sequel or to do with Edward Norton, but they had to restructure it. Like I think the like how could you control the Hulk with Mark Ruffalo in the first Avengers? That was like a recurring thing they were doing. Like
hmm
that was what we left off in the Incredible Hulk. But of course, we had to re retextualize that with Mark Ruffalo in the first Avengers film, right? So I get that. But here it was like I don't think you needed Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, or even Iron Fist to do the Defenders show. Like you could just do Daredevil and then have it like be a main focus of Daredevil, right? Like how the Avengers was a focus of Iron Man, right?
but just
I
like with elements from the other storylines.
right, and they did not do that. And this where like I don't care about talking about the Iron Fist show because nothing happens. It's boring. Like no great fight scenes. Like it's so amateur, like amateurly fight. Like shaky cam, oh my god, it's just like I don't know, like it's not even a martial arts show. It's not like a fantasy show. Like it, like this really struggle the grounded universe of Netflix, and like it shouldn't been, right? Like I don't
Mm,
know, like this shouldn't been the Thor of this universe, and they didn't took it. I don't get it.
yeah.
Ugh, oh my god. Um, let's let me wrap this up because you have it in your next list, right? Um, and I'll say the performances are good. I like Colin who Conley
Colleen.
the yeah, like
Yeah.
I really liked her. I think she's the best character from the show, and I liked her. So
She's easily the best character.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yep.
wouldn't say the performances are good. I would say
No,
her performance is good.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Ugh.
And then season two was an improvement over the first one, because they got rid of Scott Buck. But
Yeah, I agree.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yep. And the episode count. This that one was 10. So they learned like, okay, we
yeah,
don't need the 13 episode thing.
yeah. I mean, they probably didn't want to give them the budget for 13 episodes, um, because
Oh
they
dear.
knew too. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh boy. Anyway, that's my number four. Let's get into your number three. I know that started first. Let's continue that. Um, right? Is your number three? Will?
yeah.
Okay. What are the things you? What was the other aspects we haven't talked yet that was really bad for the show? I mean, we mentioned
Just the
performance,
yeah.
right?
The dialogue was
Oh,
awful. I don't really remember it that well. I've blocked it from my mind, but I know he like kept saying that he was the Iron Fist defender of Kunlun or whatever.
I know. It was like a
Um,
CW opening
yeah.
intro. Like.
My name is Danny Rand, and I am the Ironest Fist alive. Yeah. Um,
Oh my god! I thought I was watching a Arrowverse show. I was like,
the
no way.
Arrowverse shows are better than Iron Fist.
Exactly. It's
Um,
like I don't get it.
yeah.
Yeah. Um.
Also, like, if you have a superhero who gets his powers by punching the heart of a dragon, and then you don't show the dragon,
Yeah.
that's a
Uh.
weird choice. That's the coolest thing about his origin story, and you completely skipped over it.
Yeah. I. I don't know. They were really like. I don't know. Like. Let me say. I think one of the problematic things about the Marvel television like output, like
Hmm.
when you have like a long shared universe, they stick with that tone. And I feel like the Netflix shows were sticking this idea of like we were the dark and gritty Marvel
Yeah.
side, right? I
Hmm.
like that, but it
But it
doesn't
doesn't.
mean you
Mhm.
go ahead. Like you know what I'm saying? It's like I
Yeah, it doesn't really fit Iron Fist that well.
exactly like I think you know like I that's why I stopped watching the Arrow shows because they were pondering the islands like they were trying to be something which I didn't like. That's why I like Superman and Lois. Like it's being a Superman show, and it's a Superman show that understands who Superman is.
Hmm.
It's like that's all I'm asking for when I want to see these superhero things, you know. And sometimes we miss that point. And I think the show totally missed the point of the Iron Fist character. Like I'm not familiar with this character, but it, it seems like they misunderstood the concept of this character and like they were trying to fit it in this like dark and gritty like universe and trying to apply it to
Hmm.
this character, but it did not work and they should have known that, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. And there's also common sense, which they didn't have in the show.
Nope.
Yeah, and what else? Villains. I think the worst villains we have so far for this Netflix side of shows. Um,
I can
I
barely remember.
exactly like I remember the villains of Jessica Jones than these crazy characters.
Hmm.
Yeah, really, really bad. What else? You have anything else to say about Iron Fist?
No, I think we've talked about it enough.
All right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this show ever again in the nearest future. No. Anyway, okay, let's get into my number three.
Okay.
And we had discussed this before. This is Captain Marvel. This is my number three.
Okay. Is that high? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I I I think I think this was a missed opportunity. Just it did not deliver what you expect from an MCU film. Like this film didn't have like a clear vision. Um, the story that they have was very half baked. Like it felt like it was way too many revisions. Like there was one story that they wanted to do, but then some reason they had to rewrite it, and then the second and it was like too many cooks in the kitchen for this film for me, and I really feel like we didn't get to know Cara Danvers as a character properly, and I think that was the miss opportunity for Marvel. Like they should know. Like the thing that what made this universe successful is like you made me care for this character, and Captain Marvel does not do that for you, or it really at any point to care for this character of Cara Danvers. She's like like it's just frustrating. And then as a female led film, it's so mediocre. Like the action is not good. The villains are the worst MCU villains. I mean, not top, but like mid tier worst villains, I would say.
Hmm.
And and then just too many prequel ideas that are so bad, but far worse than Black Widow. I will say, like we don't need the Nick Fury eye. We don't need the Avengers name. Like the eye for Nick Fury was crossing the line for me, and I think that was far worse than the Budapest and the Dreykov thing. Like they couldn't maybe brought that up more in the other films, but they didn't. And then here they they ruined the thing that I like about the Winter Soldier, and and then they ruined certain things, and then the Avengers continuity, and then it doesn't make sense. Like now you told me that Nick knows the aliens before in the first Avengers film that we discussed last week that I
Hmm.
brought up that the Thor Mexico fight with the destroyer was the thing that made them do the Hydra reopen
Right.
weapons. Like how
Right.
did like that's just doesn't make sense. It's just oh my god. It's so awful. I'm sorry. Oh my
Yeah.
god. It's so bad. Like that doesn't make sense. And completely destroy the continuity of your shared universe, really.
Hmm.
Oh my god. Um, like I will say possibly, and I'll let you talk, Will. I like the performance of every actor. There's things I like about this film. I like the scrolls. I'm very excited to see the Secret Invasion show.
Hmm.
I think Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel L. Jackson are the two things that make this film at least enjoyable to watch. But it's not enough for me to like this film. I'm sorry. So go ahead, Will.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's
Yeah,
there's not a lot going on for the movie.
yeah.
I don't know. It's
It's like,
I wasn't crazy about the scroll.
mm, yeah, I know.
I I don't like that they made them good. I think it
Mm,
would have been more interesting if like the scroll and the Kree were like both evil and at war with each other, and then Earth was just kind of like in the middle of it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, and this is where that's why I put him highest because like it doesn't know what kind of scale film it is. Like yeah, I put M and the Wasp as in my worst, but it doesn't mean it's bad. Like it knows it's a small scale film, and I like it.
mhm,
Like I still like it in the sequel. This film doesn't even know it's trying to be a Guardians cosmic film, or you're trying to be Thor, like, or you're trying to imply the format of the first Thor. Okay, first act is in, I don't know, alien planet,
mhm,
and then second act you're in Earth. Okay, so the first Thor did it better, and I was I was very tolerable with the Earth scenes, but it was a point for the Thor arc that he was going on in the first Thor film. You don't have that for with Carol Danvers. Like, there's no arc for this character, really. So, and then the Anisha act, uh, like it's barely interesting. It's like they spoon you with the information right away, and like, okay, I don't know why you're doing that. Like, can you just leave it a mystery for this character? Like, I don't know. It's just like it's also there's a way too many ideas in this film that they didn't pick one to make a very cohesive, solid origin character study film for this character that you're trying to make me like, which they didn't.
mhm.
So, I will defend the scrolls. I'm, I will say I like the scrolls because, like, the scrolls are going to be bad. I'm hoping we'll see a fraction of a scroll that are bad, and then there's some that are good. Like, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I'm hoping for that too.
You know?
So I'm hoping that's what Secret Invasion is. But
Yeah,
as it stands right now, that's not the case, and they're
yeah, yeah. I
disappointing.
agree.
But
I agree. I understand well. Yeah. I will say definitely, like as you say about the scrolls, I don't like the Kree. Like, why we need the Kree here if we're not
oh
gonna do it? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, if we're not gonna do anything
I
interesting with them. But I think I like the Kree scroll war dynamic. Like that's a thing that I like that they brought in from the comics. It's just again it's more interesting when like they're both bad and they're at war.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's
Um,
having the scrolls be like unambiguously good in this movie is just
yeah,
boring.
yeah. Well, I it's not boring. Like, I think the movie does the mistake of like letting you know that True Law or the Kree or the bad guys, like, very easy.
Yeah, no, I
I like they're doing the twists. Like, they were doing another villain twist that was like the Mandarin. Like, they were doing the mentor mentee like twist. Like, oh, your mentor is the villain. Like Batman Begins with Ra's al Ghul,
mm-hmm,
but it did not work in this movie. Really.
yeah,
And like you don't spend time with Julo as the villain. Yagvog or whatever it was called.
mm-hmm,
You know. And like I mean, it's kind of funny. Like you got Jimin Chan who is playing Circe in the Internals. Like, she's here. It's funny. You do nothing with her as a Kree snapper, and it's like, okay, like I didn't get why you did the Star Forces. Like, you just need one Kree villain, really. Like,
mm-hmm,
I don't know. So yeah, a lot of ideas that I don't understand why they did it. So, unfortunately,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it's third my worst, but the other two are my least favorite of the MCU. So you want to get into that? Number two.
sure, yeah. My
Yeah.
number two was What If.
Oh, okay. All right. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I thought it was. I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. For some reason, I totally forgot about What
No,
If. I'm sorry.
no, it's
I'm
all
so
right. Yeah,
sorry.
no, no. When Falcon and the Winter Soldier's not on my list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All
Um.
right.
Yeah. No. What if was it's the first Marvel Studios project that I like actively disliked. Like I didn't want to watch it. Um,
Mm.
and if it wasn't for like talking to you about it as it came out, I would have stopped watching it. Um, I don't want to see season two.
No. Um,
Um,
we can just do a spoiler cast of just all the episodes at once, and then just go and just leave it like that.
okay. Um,
Like
yeah, it's the animation is ugly.
yeah.
The like the voice acting is bad. Like they're actors that are not trained to be voice actors, and you can tell because it feels like they're just reading dialogue in a sound booth.
Mm.
The writing is awful. The
Hmm.
dialogue is awful. Um, just like the stories are dumb and convoluted. Um, and then
uh,
I hate that it's technically canon. It just feels like it drags down the quality of the MCU.
yeah. I I forgot to say this in my 10, right? Because what if it's my number 10?
Hmm.
I another thing I don't like is they don't like. Is it canonical or yes or no? Like
I
it's
think it exists somewhere in the multiverse.
okay. Um.
Yeah, I really hope that they just never include it anywhere. I got really worried when Captain Carter showed up in the like
Doctor
Doctor
Strange too.
Strange posters, and
Hmm.
was relieved that it was not the same Captain Carter. So I'm hoping they just use it like in that way, where it's like introducing concepts for things that might be shown like in a movie later. But
Mm,
um,
right, right.
yeah.
Um. Yeah. I I am in the same boat as you. Yeah, the writing was very horrendous in certain episodes. Like the Thor one was really awful. Like I don't like who's who's the right mind thought about the idea like oh Thor is pottering around like and like oh like the how to stop Thor with his mom is like what is this like it
Yeah,
felt like it felt like today's animation but at its worst really you know
it felt like a bad filler episode for a children's cartoon.
yes oh my god
Um,
yeah yeah you mentioned the actors. The one actor I feel like I was actually engaged that because he already did animation before. It was actually Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he's the standout for me in terms
yeah,
of being the best one that did the animation voice acting well.
yeah. The only episode that I enjoyed was the Doctor Strange episode.
Yes, yeah, uh, which I agree. Uh, um, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And strangely was the one that I could have been happy to see in live action, like to play out differently. Um, it's weirdly to see like Dutch Strange who had some of the ideas, but they played out differently,
Hmm.
and execution as well, like execution.
Yeah,
Um, I thought it was better over there than What If. I will say, as I mentioned, spoiler cast.
yeah,
Yeah, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I I'm excited to see Loki for season two. Now
Hmm.
watching this show from last year and then just now talking again, I think my head is like, who the hell wants to see season two? Who thinks This is
There
so
there are
pop.
people that liked it.
Yeah, but why did Disney think this needs to be renewed again? Like, I don't get it.
I think it's cheaper than the other shows because it's animated. Um, that's part of
Oh,
it.
that's true.
Um,
Oh dear. Uh, I don't like that. Oh dear. I, oh my god. I just don't know. I mean, this is Disney. Like Disney produced one of the best animation content as well. I mean, not as good like consistently like Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, but like I mean, I love Kim Possible. I love Gravity Falls. I don't know. You seen that show?
yeah, no,
Um.
it's great.
Oh my god.
Phineas and
I
Ferb.
oh yeah. Oh my god.
I've been watching
Star.
Owl House. That's really good.
Oh yeah. I started to watch that. I really like that one.
Yeah,
And I really like Star versus the Forces of Evil. That's like also good. I like that one. Yeah, like why could you just recruit people from there, from your division of animation, and then apply that to this? What if?
yeah.
Um,
Who knows?
I yeah, who knows? And then going back to my point, like
Hmm.
this should not be a MCU connected. Like they shouldn't just make this as like a standalone thing, where it was just like a original Marvel animation. Like
Hmm.
you don't you don't need this to be connected to MCU. Like
Right.
I get the brand connection, but it like people want this to be not connected to the MCU. Like I don't like when the MCU got popular, like every comic book design had to be like in the movies, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. Like this is why I like DC because they don't like. Yes, they do borrow things from the media, but they don't force it. Like Harley didn't got into the comics really until the end of the '90s, and
Hmm.
and then she is a stable in the Batman universe, but like she earned that. And
Hmm.
I or like Mr. Freeze, his new origin, like it was earned because people love it, and like it they I don't know, it's like like Marvel struggles, like I it's also corporate thing as well. It's like
Yeah.
everything
Well,
has
mhm.
I don't know, like I don't know, like just
It's all
allow.
marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I just don't like it as much. It's like this is why we got Ultimate Spider-Man and Avengers Assemble because we had to be connected to the MCU. It's like no,
I know. Yeah,
uh,
I'm still upset that they canceled Earth's Mightiest Heroes for Avengers Assemble.
yes, and I just don't understand that. I just
Yeah.
allow these properties to be original and be impressive of the comic books, and you can
Hmm.
do your own thing, like Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes did its own thing, but it also borrowed things from the comics as well. And like
Yeah.
they did it well,
Yeah.
You know? And I mean like they have it's funny. Like they have a better Malekith than you guys have.
Hmm.
So why we need this connection? I don't get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So yep. So I'm happy I'm still a DC fan. Like at least I can get my Harley Quinn. Like I mean, like the Harley Quinn show is like the best video show we have now, and
It's a lot of
it's
fun. Yeah.
oh my god, yeah, and it's doing its own thing, and it's fun. Like come on, and I'm excited for the was it the Batman Cake Crusader show. It's
Hmm.
just I don't know. It's just like come on, just do your own thing. Don't connect it to the MCU, and you'll be fine, and people will like your thing. So anyway, well, I'm lost my track. We're number two, right?
Right.
Anything else you want to say about what if, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Let's get into my number two, and I'm surprised we. I think. I mean, this is top. I mean, this is the worst thing. But for me, it's number two because there's one that I don't like. Uh, I
Okay.
mean, because it's. I mean, it's forgettable, and I don't know why I should care about this. But anyway, number two is the Inhumans is number two.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being very very generous for some reason, but it was this or the second film of the worst MCU thing. But I was like, I mean, at least it wasn't boring, but it was so
Uh,
bad.
I
I
thought it
mean,
was boring. Um, yeah. No, it's awful.
oh my god, it's
Um,
awful.
it's
I
so
mean,
bad.
first off, costume designs were awful. It was not comic book accurate. Like, how can Doctor Strange 2 give you the best, like, comic book accurate
I
suit
was so
over
happy
TV?
when Black Bolt showed up in Doctor Strange too.
Yes, like he had this like the spoon thing from the
The fork,
mask.
yeah, the
Yeah.
tuning fork.
Oh my god, I was like, yes, and the cape under the
Mm-hmm.
Nightwing
Mm-hmm.
glider. I was like, oh yes. Before he passed away from this
Right.
universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was incredible, and then you look at this show where he's not wearing that, and it's like, okay, you're doing this wrong. You're completely first off, let me address this. Who in the right mind, like Jeff Lowe, you are completely stupid. Why you did not
It's
connect this to the Agents of Shield show? First
it's
off,
they kind of did.
really,
There
like
was a brief mention of the like Terrigen bomb that happened at the beginning of season 3 of Agents of Shield.
right? We know that.
But
I
that was
mean,
it. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yes,
I'm glad they didn't connect it because it
yeah,
was so bad.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was the like pet project of what's his name?
Plumber or whatever
Right,
his
Ike
mark.
Perlmutter.
Yeah,
Who, yeah.
yes. Oh my god, yeah. Now you brought that up. Yeah, because I brought this up in two or three, right, when they were doing the Inhumans there in season two and three of Agents of Shield.
Right.
Like, because they did not like that they didn't own the X-Men, and they did not like Fox for some reason. And so in this pity corporate thing, around Marvel now until I think Secret Wars. Yeah, like it was like after Secret Wars when Marvel split up with the other
hmm
divisions, right?
Right.
They canceled the Fantastic Four comics, right, in
Right.
2015, and then
Killed
they
them
were
all
trying to,
off.
yeah, and which is sad. And then they were trying to make the Inhumans be their X Men, right? And
hmm
like we now have every Inhuman characters. Like Miss Marvel is an Inhuman, uh, in the comics,
hmm
and then and like they were phasing out the X Men, um, which they couldn't do that because everyone loves the X Men. So
Right.
like it was almost like they didn't want, like I don't know what they did that like they screw over the X Men. Like they were heavily promoting the Inhuman speed. They were like they were the new X Men, and I was like, okay, whatever, you know.
hmm
And then initially, if anyone doesn't know, initially this was supposed to be the movie, right?
hmm
It was, I think, supposed to be first in the middle of Phase Three, and then it got pushed back to being the last film for Phase Three. But
Right.
then that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and then around like after Age of Ultron and Ant Man, like around after we finished Phase Two, like we got a lot of restructuring in the schedule, and then that got pushed off from the calendar, and then it got into a TV show
Yeah.
basically. And I and just like Iron Fist, it's just another rush job. And like
hmm
they were trying to do the Game of Thrones thing, like, oh, we're gonna shoot this IMAX, and like and then it didn't work out. Oh my
Yeah.
god, oh god, it's just Like, and then who's the right my hire Scott Buck again?
Well,
Like,
it's he had gotten Iron Fist done so quickly, and
yeah,
this
like,
was put into production before Iron Fist came out, and everyone knew it was a dumpster fire. So
yeah,
I guess they were impressed as he had done it as quickly as he did, and they were like, "Hey, we need you to do that again for
yeah,
Inhumans." So he did that, and then it was another dumpster fire,
yep.
and then they never hired him again.
And
Uh,
he hasn't have any projects afterwards, so
yeah,
he's
good
like,
because he
yeah. I mean,
he
I'm
proved
happy,
that
but
he really can't.
yeah, I mean, he ruined the last season of Dexter, and then he ruined Iron Fist, and now Inhumans. So
Hmm.
good job. Yeah. Oh boy, the Inhumans. Oh god, it's just like I just I don't know. This was the wrong. Like I think this was a low point for like Marvel Television in 2017. Really.
Yeah, I mean, this was the beginning of it
Yeah.
closing. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Because like was it like next year, like in 2018, like that was where we like the cancellations were happening, like allowed the assortment of these other divisions into just for Marvel Studios was like really like fast
mhm.
pace. I cannot believe I saw that. Like I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
I think that was 2019 when that happened, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
2018. They like, I think they were really starting to like make moves, like they wanted to expand Marvel Television, and then this performed so poorly
uh
that like the the higher ups at Marvel got kind of nervous uh, and started shutting everything down.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, I mean, it was I I feel so bad for Jeff Lowe, right? Or not really, but I mean, I pity him. Like
yeah.
I just I think the man I think he kind of did the worst thing what the Arabs did, but far worse. I think like he cared too much. Like the I I get you trying to hit a demographic, but you also need to be a for contract audience. Like you need family, adults, and teens, right? And all together,
Mhm.
you can make a good, successful like property for everyone. And it's tough to balance that. But I think he leaned into that too much. Like the Runaways were like a teen show, and same thing with Cloak and Tiger, which is it's fine, but but you have an older audience that love these characters, and it's like they don't want to see that,
Mhm.
and I just don't know what Iron Fist was supposed to be, and this I don't know what like is this for everyone? The Inhumans, like
I think it tried to be.
I
Um,
mean, I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. It just failed as like a superhero thing to like just to take off, like
Hmm.
because this was in the superhero boom we were having at this time, like I don't know. Yeah, yeah, but it's just a good example of not hiring a showrunner that does not deliver on what a show should be, and rushing a project is not good because you're not developing your ideas of what the show should be, and it just came off as just a corporate thing. Like it just felt like just like fantastic. Like it was
Hmm.
just, oh, we just need that because we want to keep the rights, or we're just doing this because we want to just pity fight against this other studio that has this other property that we really want to have, but we can't.
Hmm.
That's what it came as uh, come as I'm seeing the show develop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's awful. I don't want to see it, but it's just my number two, unfortunately. So that's it. All right. You want to get into number one?
Yeah. I mean, mine is Inhumans, so we can just continue that discussion.
Yeah, so let's get into
Yeah,
schedule. What was your worst things about this show? That like, okay, this is the worst show. What moment?
it's the Inhumans as a concept is so uh, ambitious for a live action adaptation. You
Yes.
like you can't do that on a network TV budget.
Mm.
You can't like, ah, man, like
I
one of the characters is a giant teleporting dog, and like they did it, but it like was not great. It
no.
looked better than I thought it would, but it's still like
Yeah.
it cleared a low bar, but not by much.
Yeah.
Um, and then like Medusa, like
Oh my god, that one was the worst for me. That was where I did not like the show. Like it was
yeah,
like, yeah, we're saving money for this.
yeah. Oh, man, you have a character with a cool power, and then you get rid of her power in episode one.
I know. I couldn't believe they did it, and that was where I
Yeah,
was like, you know what, you're doing this wrong.
yeah.
You're just cuss cutting. That's it. That's all it
Hmm.
is.
Yeah,
It's just weird.
and then
Yeah. Oh my god.
yeah.
It's um. I let me pick it back about the
Hmm.
ambition. I disagree. If it was handled by a different person that can execute that right. Like let's be honest here.
Yeah.
the reason Star Trek is good is because they had good showrunners or writers to develop these ideas. Like the reason people like the Borg because it was handled executed well in the show and the movie
Hmm.
First Contact, and then Agents of Shield did complex ideas and they did it well.
Yeah.
So
It
I
it definitely it could have been better,
yeah
and still be a network TV show. But I think
yes
it's best suited for like a big budget like streaming
yeah
service, like a Disney
yeah
Plus show or a movie. Like, but I think preferably a streaming service, so you have time to like develop all of the characters, and really tell an ensemble story.
yeah
Um,
agreed agreed.
but yeah, it's just such a missed opportunity because I really do think the Inhumans are like interesting and cool, and it's just really disappointing that they are constantly butchered.
No, I agreed. And I want to mention this, and this is something I think has been a misrepresentation or like a sad thing with Marvel. Like at least DC, like I mean, they're shady with their history, but like at least they're now being honest. And, like they're honest with their comic history. But Marvel, like I didn't like this era where we were really like shaving away the importance of what these certain characters were. Like the humans come from the Fantastic Four. This is like a Jack Kirby cosmic thing that is like a big deal, right?
Hmm.
And just seeing it to be mistreated, just like the X-Men in the comics, but also the movies slash comics of Fantastic Four is so saddened. Like I just don't like that, and it's just like it just makes me sad to see this career's like property being not treated right. You know, like it's bad enough that we don't have a decent or love property of Fantastic Four films or whatever.
Hmm.
It's like I think the Inhumans should be treated respectfully as well. Like they come from the Fantastic Four comics and they're like at least appearing in the Marvel universe, and then just get treated like this is just like awful. And then, and of course, it's bad that they were used as like a what was it, like a propaganda, like a bidding war against a company that owned the X-Men. Like that did not help as well. So
Hmm.
and I know it's really sad because I don't like when you have a property that you like or like you respect, but you didn't get into like getting butcher or fail at the first try is like really sad. Like I don't
Hmm.
like that we didn't get a good Green Lantern film, but like,
Yeah.
it's and then the companies will never touch this in like a few years. Like it's been, oh my god, like last year was 20 so this is like 11 years since the first Green Lantern film, and these like Warner Bros. Or DC haven't done nothing with the Green Lantern like comics and medium really, you know.
Yeah. I
And
saw that they're making an animated show for HBO Max.
yes, and I think there's a movie, an animation movie they doing with Jon Stewart. So
Cool.
yeah, yeah, it's I what's the I'll text you what's the name of that directed
Yeah.
animation movie,
Yeah.
for Green Lantern. Are you a Green Lantern fan, Jon Stewart fan?
I'm not really. I mean, I'm more of a Marvel guy, but
Oh, that's true. That's
they're
true.
yeah,
I'm
they're
sorry. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm a Jon Stewart fan, so I was like, when I
yeah,
heard they doing that, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's great.
yeah. No, it's
Yeah. Um.
I think there's like cool like potential there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um. And then speaking speaking of that, we got Black Bolt again, but then I'm now questioning why did we change Miss Marvel into why did we change Miss Marvel to not being inhuman? Like like why? Because we brought Black Bolt in a movie. I
yeah, I
mean,
don't know. I
like
I
that's something that I was thinking about after because they're kicking up Miss Marvel's promotion stuff and before it's gonna release in 2 weeks. I was like, wait a minute, you have Black Bolt who's Inhuman. Why you're not doing it for like introduce the Inhumans with Miss Marvel and like I don't. I'm sorry. Like, go ahead. Well, I'm sorry. It's just mind-boggling for me.
yeah, I think part of it is they don't want to acknowledge the Inhumans TV show,
Mm,
which would do like a lot of the legwork for explaining Miss Marvel as an Inhuman. Um, because there
mm.
hasn't been a Marvel Studios production that have addressed Inhumans or Terrigenesis or anything. And then I
Yeah.
think the other thing is, well, there's two other things. One is they don't want to give her the same powers as Mr. Fantastic before they introduce Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And like technically, spoilers, they did introduce a Mr. Fantastic, but I mean like a
Yeah, yeah,
proper, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
If you seen Doctor Strange, like you know what Will's saying. So
yeah.
I understand. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
Weird.
then the other thing is like that particular power set is kind of hard to do in live action, just because like no matter what, the CGI is going to look strange and kind of like
Yeah.
rubbery. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I. It was fine when we saw it in Doctor Strange too. I was like, okay. It was like
yeah, like
it was. Um.
I
I don't know.
personally would prefer that she still had her actual powers,
Yeah.
and I'd be fine with the CGI being a little off. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I guess like I'm fine if they change the power. If I'm fine if like switching the powers to something else with the territory miss. But I don't know. I we need to see how they're gonna do with the powers in the show. So I'm kind of curious where they're gonna go with that. So,
hmm
but because it seems like her powers are from like a like almost like a Green Lantern thing. Like it's like a power source she has. It's not she's not getting the powers like manifest. What do you call it? Force or what's the word? Not genetically enhanced like some of the other Marvel heroes we have.
hmm yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, anything else about the humans besides our deeply hatred of this movie
No, I just
or show?
what a disappointment.
Yeah. Very
Yeah,
disappointed. Um. Yeah,
All
but
right.
let's get into this. Is your number one, right?
Right. So, what's your number one?
Okay, so I think I'm kind of obvious when my number one. It's Thor: The Dark World. It's my number one, really.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I really don't like this one. Um,
Yeah.
I don't hate it like the Humans or the Iron Fist. I think it's because it's bland, and the thing that
Mhm.
pardon my French, pissed me off is that
Mhm.
they're not even trying to make a good film. Like they're not trying to make a engaging film with the stuff you can develop into something good, right?
Mhm.
Like the villain plot, like the conversion, whatever, like the lining on the moose thing, like that could have been a interesting villain plot we haven't seen in superhero properties before. But they did it so like haphazard and like like they don't even care about that plot line. It's like, oh, we just need like a high stake like disaster like in the level of Avengers, and it's like, no, not do that, you know. And then like they like and for me personally, getting into the Marvel channel and just starting to appreciate more of Kenneth Branagh as a director when I was growing up. I appreciate more of the first Thor film,
Mhm.
and I did not like that they like deserve the first film and drop plot lines that could have been potential greatness for a sequel. Like, like the Rainbow Bridge being built off screen and being fine in this movie completely assaulted me as a viewer. It was like, oh, okay, so why you did that in the first film if you knew you were gonna just bring it back in the second? Like the drama, like they completely cut certain dramas, like it make the Chain and Thor relationship even more awkward, and does not make sense initially if you thought when you watched the first Thor film. Like I defended the relationship, but then coming into the sequel, it was like, oh, okay, I get why people don't like this relationship. It's stupid, doesn't make sense. It's just like a girl liking the role like bronze man is because he's hot and handsome,
Mhm.
and like he slaps him multiple times is like, what are you doing, and the villain, like I mean, it's been talked to death. Like I know Malekith is the worst villain ever. It doesn't work. They undercut your villain completely to make him uninteresting. Like the was it Curse, the sidekick to Malekith? Like he was a better villain than Malekith. Like he had a better visual design, and it's like I just don't get it. And he's played by the actor that played Killer Croc in Suicide Squad. It's like, oh my god, and poor Christopher Eccleston. I really like the actor. He's really great. I love him in my favorite horror film, 28 Days Later, and like he can hem up his performance. Like he's funny and great in GI Joe: Rise of Cobra,
Mhm.
and like he could be a serious slash. He can hem up a villain performance and be memorable. And they didn't allow that. Like he's just a plain paper bag villain, and like I mentioned, the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Hero Malekith being better than your movie version is like saying much. Like that version in the cartoon show is way better and more threatening than this version, which is crazy. Um, I'm sorry. I think for me it's the worst film. But let me pull myself back. There's great things about this film. Uh, I think that Loki is really the thing that keeps this film together.
Yeah.
That's the obvious. I mean, Will, you brought it up. The Thor and Loki scenes together, and Loki himself is the best thing about the sequel.
Mhm.
Um, I like it. I mean, I think this is Tom's best performance because we delved in a bit more with the character and adding in he's the mother's boy, and then like Thor is like the father's son. You know, like Odin likes like he fathers like Thor more. Um, and then the mom cares so much about Loki, and like that worked. Like when he heard about the mom death, like that scene hit right for me because you care about what Loki's feeling, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just uh yeah, so I'm happy you didn't put this list because um it does get mentioned a couple times, and we are getting back certain things that we left off from this movie, getting kind of piggyback, like Thor the third, Thor Ragnarok did pick up the things from Loki's being the throne, like that took care, and then now we're dealing with Jane back
Hmm.
again, like the movie is getting tolerable, which is good. But for me, it's still the worst MCU film because it crossed the line of not picking up things that I like about the first Thor, and just not being creative or just playing safe. I think is
Hmm.
the thing to say about the sequel is playing safe, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's just not for me. Wait, so what's your thoughts for this film?
Yeah. I don't hate it. Like there's nothing about it that I think is like offensive or bad. Like,
Yeah,
but
it's not. Yeah,
yeah, no, I it's but Thor: The Dark World is my like I don't know. I've called it the world's okayest movie. Like it's it's my baseline for like it's a 5 out of 10 for me. And it's like
mm,
if I watch a movie and I'm like I liked that more than Thor: The Dark World, I'm like, yeah, that was a good movie. And if I like it less than Thor: The Dark World, I'm like, that was a terrible movie. Like it's my baseline
yeah,
because it's
yeah.
so middle of the road.
Oh my god, it
But, like
is.
I completely understand why it's your number one, even if it wasn't on my list. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
I mean, like it's like a really a toss up for this Iron Man 2 or the Incredible Hulk. But
Mm,
at least there's things I like about the Hulk. Like personally for me, like it's the thing that introduced me about the shared universe of Marvel in the movies.
hmm.
And then Iron Man 2 gets better because I think there's just more plot lines get carried over to the films, and what they're introduced in Iron Man 2 like stuck around in the MCU, like Black Widow and more with Shield. Howard Stark, is introduced in that film, and like you see him again as the younger Stark in Captain America: First Avenger,
Hmm.
and the Stark Expo, and the so and Iron Man 2 has good action scenes. Like I mean, the suitcase armor scene is great. I love it. It's just one of the best Iron Man action scenes ever. So, and then this just has nothing. Like I mean the humor, like everyone complains about the MCU humor. Like this is where like the MCU humor, like you need it because the plot is thin, but sometimes it hits and it misses too much.
Hmm.
Like I like Dorsey as a character. I don't hate her like a lot of people do, but her humor just doesn't hit every time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't like her until WandaVision,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, I do too. But yeah, I have a question. Let's
Hmm.
kind of wrap things up. Uh, and then discuss what we're gonna talk next before we get back to the TV Weekly discussion with Miss Marvel. But what was your runner up? Which films and TV shows missed the ranking?
Um, Thor 2, Iron Man 2,
Mm,
um, Jessica Jones,
mm.
um, yeah,
Um,
that's probably it for like border ones.
okay.
Yeah. What
Um,
about you?
so for me, before I added the television shows,
Mm-hmm.
um, so for my 12 to 16, like I have the first Ant-Man, but I put that low above Ant-Man and the Wasp because I like that more than the sequel. That's number 12, and then I had Doctor Strange. Um,
Yeah, that
I
would be low in terms of movies for me.
yeah, I almost thought to put it there, but then I was like, I like it. It's Confident Main. It's just there, really. I mean, it's a Confident Main
Mm-hmm.
film. But I think also the sequel helped me like that more, like a little bit, but not
Mm,
much. I'll say.
yeah.
And then I have Thor, the first one. Um, but I mean, it's low. It's 14 in my list. Um, and then I have Avengers Endgame. Um,
Interesting.
I'm Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't put that there. But then, like, there's more things to like there, and it's a successful conclusion for like the Infinity Saga. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not gonna. I mean, the Tasha thing does bother me, and like that is
Yeah.
crossing the line for me. Like, you're almost the worst film, but whatever. And then last, you mentioned the Incredible Hulk, and that's at my 16. I did put it in my list. It was like number 10 for me for worst films, but then I just I have a soft spot for that, but it's still the weak film. So
Mm.
yeah, so yeah, so yeah. I hope everyone enjoyed the ranking of this. Will where do you want to go for next week? What topic we should talk about now
Yeah,
for
I'm
next
not
week?
sure. Not sure for
Yeah,
next time.
yeah. Like, you want to do a movie or um do Iron Man, the first Iron Man film discussion, or you want to do Agents of season 6? Where you want to go?
Are we already
Or
on season 6?
ye- yeah, or or we need to start doing some of the other shows like Daredevil, Jessica Jones. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I'd want
yeah,
time to rewatch those. But
yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
yeah, we can do the
So
first Iron Man movie.
okay, let's do that, and then after that we're back to do TV Weekly with Miss Marvel, which I'm very excited. I'm very happy to see that show finally. Or oh my God, so excited for that
Yeah,
character.
yeah, I
So
don't know.
yeah, yeah,
I have
um,
reservations. But
yeah, I, yeah,
it's the
I know,
same writer as What If. Um,
yeah, I know,
and they're
I
changing
know,
her powers. I don't know.
yeah,
I hope it's good. I like
yeah,
Kamala Khan in the comics and in like other stuff. So I hope so. I hope it's good.
yeah, yeah. I just hope the constraints in animation and just the like just doing the concept of what if, but in the MCU was just the thing that made it bad for the writers.
I don't know.
I don't know because I feel more confident because they're doing something unique with Miss Marvel. Like that's the thing about it. Like, but we'll see.
I
Well,
don't know. Yeah.
let's save our judgments when we see the first episode in June 8th. So, you know,
Mhm.
yeah. But thank you, Will, for joining me today. This was a fun discussion. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Next week, me and Will be back again to discuss the first Iron Man film, the first MCU film that started it all. So stay tuned there for next week, and of course, stay tuned for this podcast either tomorrow or Tuesday. All right, bye everyone, and have a good weekend.